Limited at 465-3333 or log on to beacon.co.tt and get driving today.
Water is life, 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 life. Water is life, 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 life. Do just one thing,
Every job comes. Make sure you check for leaks around your house every day. Every job comes. When brushing your teeth, don't let the water run away. Come save the water, preserve the water right now. Every job comes. Save the water whenever you're taking your shower. Every job comes. Make saving the water your business every hour. The water right now. To me, and you, and you, and you, and you. The water right now.
do just one thing.
A pleasant good morning to all our listeners in Radioland, those of you in tune to us via radio, YouTube, and Facebook. Welcome to the 6th edition of our radio show, The Waterline. The Waterline is a radio program brought to you by the St. Kitts Water Services Department. I am Shireen Awana, your host for today, and I'll be taking you through the show. The Waterline is brought to you again every second and fourth Wednesday of each month by the Water Services Department. And for today's show, we continue our conversation on improving water billing and revenue collection. And water has immense and complex value for our households, food, culture, health, education, economics, and even the integrity of our natural environment. And if we are to overlook any of these values, we risk mismanaging this finite, irreplaceable resource. And while the provision of a reliable supply of safe, potable water is one of the core responsibilities of any government, in a very small way, we as consumers, we are called to do two things. And one, conserve it. Two, pay for it. Toward the latter, it is expected that government would seek to recover the cost involved in providing this service. And so to discuss this topic today, I have with me in the studio 3 guests. And I would allow them to introduce themselves and tell us a bit about who they are in the context of the Water Services Department. Welcome to the show, ladies. You look quite happy to be here. Mr. Herbert has been here before, but the other two of you, please introduce yourself.
My name is Dan Tricia Bell, acting customer service supervisor at the post office.
Okay, so you're stationed at the post office.
Right now.
Thank you.
And my name is Karima Laibad, customer representative.
Okay, welcome, Karima.
Thank you.
Good morning, Malcolm Herbert here again, Clerk of Works, Water Services Department.
Thank you, and welcome back, Mr. Herbert. We'll go straight into the conversation because, of course, we're a little bit pressed for time.
Yeah.
So we left off last week with a different slate of individuals from the Water Services Department who gave us some insight into revenue collection, what is entailed in the process, why it is important that the department collects revenue. And so we'll continue in that tone, and we'll speak towards the cost of water, the cost involved in us having the water service as an individual or at a domestic level or even at the commercial level. Why does the cost of a new water service connection vary? Why does it vary? Why is it not one set connection rate? Any one of you?
That's really the best person to answer.
Okay, like anything else, to make a connection for a water supply, you have to use a number of different materials. Like any other business also, you have to, or there is a government institution, you have to offset something so the workers can be able to acquire a salary. So you pay for the materials, we have to put in something for when we have to cross roads. So if we for example, doing a concrete road, that road has to be repaired after the work is done. So something has to be in it for that. And like I said, also something has to be in there somewhat for the work for the workers then.
Okay.
That's basically it.
Okay, and then you have persons who ask, okay, I've got my connection, I have the water coming to my house. Now that I've settled in, I realize that my bill is quite high. Ladies, give us on the billing aspect of it. Give us some insight as to what some of the things that could cause the bill to be high. What are some of the
major
things?
factor is leaks.
Leaks.
And if it's not a leak, then you yourself have to be using quite a bit of water, because if you have from 0 to 2,500 gallons to use for $20 and you go beyond that, it's either a leak or it's you.
Okay, so it's either a leak or you're
It could be a bus
abusing.
pipe too. It could be a bus pipe at
Okay.
the time
Okay.
that could cause it to, yeah.
So should it be any of those situations, particularly the leak or a burst pipe, tell us, who do we contact? Who do I reach out to if I suspect that I have a leak?
Well, before time, we used to urge people to get in contact with their personal plumber. Whereas if they get the leak fixed, they could always come back to us, and we would do at least a 6 months adjustment. We urge them also to make sure it doesn't pass 6 months. So at least 3 to 6, fair enough. So you could have a billing adjustment done after the leak.
Okay.
Just a quick thing on that. Outside of the billing adjustment, as everyone would recognize in time like this, where we're having a lot of water outages. We know initially we said we urge you to get it repaired in at least 6 months' time, so we could do that adjustment.
Or sooner.
It is best practice right now to get it repaired the same day,
Yes.
as soon as you find it, because the more water we have going down the drain, is the higher the chances of you not having water the following day, or even that same day.
Okay. Do we have any particular phone numbers or particular contact persons that you would suggest that they reach out to?
For the Bastille area, it is Kurt, the foreman, and in the rural area, it is maybe Belly for West.
There is a contact, a direct line to the department, 467-1447, and unfortunately I can't remember the cell number off my hand right now.
Okay.
But the landline is 467-1447.
Okay.
Or if you know, as Ms. Liebert said, the district overseer, whoever the district overseer be, she used Mr. Cathy, who is in Bastille. There's Mr. Hobson, who covered rural West, but you have individuals in different communities. If you know them, you can contact them directly. And so that will even speed up the process of you getting that leak sorted out.
Okay then. So I see that the water services issued a press release indicating that they will be visiting consumers who are using excessive amounts of water due to leaks, and to ensure that those leaks are, repaired as quickly as possible. When exactly would this begin?
If I am not mistaken, as long as you come in, so that will be something that should have already started or started today.
Okay.
Because as I mentioned a while ago, it's important, very important for us right now to capture and fix all the leaks, because we are moving into the season of uncertainty.
And you're taking me right where I want to take the conversation, Mr. Herbert. We are moving into that period of uncertainty. And that period of uncertainty that you're referencing, I imagine, is the dry season?
Yes, it is.
A very dry one.
So, she said a very dry one. Mr. Herbert, tell us why the Water Services Department has a need to ration, particularly during the dry season.
Well, straight off the bat, I was going to use an example, but I think for this I will not. Straight off the bat, we know at present the Water Department, because of the lack of rainfall, and everyone knows that the water supply rely heavily on rainfall. That's where we get our water from. Whether it's well or surface, rainfall. We are not getting the rainfall, and therefore the amount of water that we normally have to supply to our customers has decreased tremendously. With leaks, when leaks are involved in that, it also reduces that amount that get to you. So in order for us to try and keep up, we definitely have to do some rationing. We used to just do that mostly at nights, but as things go along and as the season go along, we recognize that it's gonna have to be even during the daytime also.
Okay.
Because basically the demand for water is more than the production that we are doing right now.
Okay, now, of course, this is not necessarily across the board, because you have persons who, depending on the area that they live, they will be more affected. Give us some insight into the areas that tend to be mostly affected.
Okay, well, right now, I know Keon might be saying that they normally have that issue, but for some strange reason, Keon has been able to withhold being shut off every day. Bastille right now is, we used to shut off at 9 o'clock, now we have to carry it to 7 o'clock because there are areas that actually run out of water even though we didn't shut it off. So it's Bastille, Newton Ground, St. Paul's, Saddlers, Date Bay. Those areas has been some of the areas that throughout the year has have problems with the supply. And now we are seeing the Phillips's area. We had to shut down the Phillips's area starting from Sunday gone. So right now is an island-wide issue, but the heavier areas them, like I said, it would be Bastille, Saddlers, Newton Ground, and to some extent Cairn.
Okay, so for persons, of course, especially those who are living in areas that are highly affected, their question would more than likely be, what is the department doing? What measures are we putting in place to, mitigate the challenges? What are we doing?
Well, on the department side, we are, on the government side rather, because the department is a government institution. So on the government side, we are looking into drilling more wells. Also, we were hoping to keep away from desalination, but we are also at the process of, the government is in the process of some conversation in order to get a desalination plant introduced into the system. But for immediate effect, conservation. We could save at least 30 to 50% of the water to put back into the system if we able to control the leaks. So for immediate effect would be conservation.
Okay, so that's the driving point.
Yes.
That it starts with us
Yes.
as individuals first, And then in the grand scheme of things, the government will do the additional,
Yes.
the necessary
Well drilling.
things, the well drilling to complement that.
Yes.
Okay. And it could get worse, right?
Well, the the future is looking that way.
It's looking dim.
It's looking that way.
And
As more
give us some.
houses going down.
Say that one more time.
I
for
said
me.
more houses and so going
Correct,
down.
correct,
so.
correct. As we build more houses, the demand increases.
Yes.
And depending on how long the dry season continues, we may have to cut back on how much water we pump from our wells too.
Yes, and it's funny. Just yesterday, myself and Mr. Williams, the general manager, we went to a number of locations because we've been discussing that same thing, shutting down other areas and for longer period of time and even during the day, because we were checking on what we call the static water level in some of the wells. And for example, if we normally have 10 feet of water to use in this particular area, upon completion of some of the checks yesterday, we realized that we only have about 7. And if, as you said before, if the dry season get any worse, we know it's going to continue for a while, but if it get any worse, that 7 would reduce down to maybe 4 or 5. So it definitely has to do some conservation.
Okay. All right. Do we have any call on the line? It appears like we have a call on the line. Caller.
Yeah, good morning. I always got a call.
Good morning.
The gentleman there, you're saying something there contrary to what your back said recently, you know, that we were supposed to get 2 plants to the desalination plant funded by some of those Arab Emirates. And he also said where they got the statement also said where they would be located.
What it is
So,
that was contrary, caller? What exactly was contrary? I'm just asking for clarity.
Well, yeah, and let me finish. You don't make me break me train of thought. But hearing this thing about you gotta shut them more. Man, that come to a crisis. That ain't sound good. What we want is desalination plant because we want more water. You have to have capacity. But I want to ask, the sugar factory had a well over there in Shadwell that they used to use up until when they closed down. Is the well functioning? And then I understand some in Shadwell area too has a well, but they say the quality of the water is not good for human consumption. Now, in Nevis recent, not so long ago, during the height of the COVID, some people came and set up a treatment system for a similar well in Nevis, where he had a high capacity. And I want to know if this water cannot be treated and some can't even be siphoned off over to Shadwell. I mean to Kearney. But I'm going to go now, but I'm going to say this. When I was a boy, I used to go by the river. I live in Challengers. And we used to, a number of places that used to have pools of water almost year round. And we used to have crayfish in them. Same thing in Old Road. But now you walk as far up as you could and no water in the pools. Doesn't that tell you, and I don't believe you're going to get enough water in the catchment up there, like when you have heavy rain. But doesn't that tell you something is wrong with climate change and you all need to be more alert and not to frighten people or scare people,
Okay,
but
caller.
to do something. Your name, let me finish. Okay, caller, all right, have a good day.
Thank you, caller. We'll respond to your questions. Is there a next caller on the line? We seem to have lost the caller, so Mr. Herbert, I'll let you go right ahead and respond to the questions from our previous caller.
Okay, concerning the desalination, I did not mention how many because some of that conversation
We seem to have another caller on the line, so Mr. Herbert, just take a pin for 1 second and then we'll go back to that caller. Caller, you're on the line. Welcome to the water line.
Yes, good morning to everybody, daily panel.
morning.
My question is, why Newton Ground losing water? So when Newton Ground always got rain always falling in Newton Ground. No catchment there? I don't understand that. The whole country, Newton Ground, they get more water than everybody. Every night rain fall in Newton. And Newton Ground water locking our force. I don't understand. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, caller. We don't seem to have any other callers, so Mr. Herbert, you can take the questions.
Okay, as I was saying, I did not mention the amount of desal plant. I just put it a broad scale, saying that that is the government, is in discussion to get desal plant on stream. The other thing is the wells. We have the well that you're speaking about in Shadwell. The government that is already in fact of the matter, work has been ongoing with that well to bring it up to the WHO, that's the World Health Organization standard for potable drinking water. So it's not that we're not doing nothing, we are doing anything, but like everything else, things like that takes time to come on stream.
Okay, we seem to have another caller on the line. So caller, welcome to the water line.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I understand why Newton Ground and them there. May I hear you mention nothing like boardwalk and them places there were water in land. You know, may I hear you talking about them frigate ban all them there, water can't go in them areas, only in the poor areas water can go.
Okay, so
let's take the call. Let's take the questions as they come. We seem to have another caller on the line. Caller, welcome to the water line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the water line.
Hi, good morning. Is this Ms. Phillips' office? Dr. Phillips' office?
Hello?
You have the wrong number, caller.
Hello?
Okay, Mr. Herbert, let's go back to the caller that asked about Newton Ground being shut off every night. I've heard that question quite a number of times. Persons have asked, Newton Ground is on the water belt, we get a lot of rain. Why is it that our water is being shut off?
As I mentioned before, that is the government, is in discussion. Newton Ground has one well to supply that area. That production, that well is not sufficient for the development that has been in Newton Ground over the years. That well is not sufficient to maintain the levels. So you find at times we do have to shut off in order for you to have water the following day. Sometimes even without we shutting off, because the demand is so high, the reservoir actually runs out, which we don't have no control over. I can't say how soon, but as I mentioned before, we are looking into drilling wells throughout the island, because it's not just, I have to add the last caller to this Newton Ground question, because it's not just Newton Ground alone that lose water. Frigate Bay lose water, Boardwalk lose water. We are not picking and choosing who to take water from and who to give water. We are trying to give everybody a fair chance to have some water at some point in time. But as I mentioned before, we are head fast into the dry season. Our production, the general production of water in St. Kitts is less than the demand. So we're going to have that issue in a number of areas. To give the caller a small example, he said, why not Frigate Bay? Some parts of Frigate Bay, Half Moon, Canary Heights and those areas was out of water for 3 days. We just, this morning, myself and Mr. Carty had to, along with his workers, them went after 5 to get those areas some water, because 3 days now on the street they're being out. So it's not, we are not picking no one area. We are trying to ration it fair and have everybody have water to do something with at some point in time.
Okay, Mr. Herbert, to piggyback off of something that you just said in terms of getting water to persons, one of the callers, I think it was the first one, who was asking about redirecting water from an area that has a sufficient supply to Keon. What are the possibilities in terms of diverting water from one to a next?
We are very lucky in a sense that we are able to do some of that. Unfortunately, not throughout the whole island as we would like it to be, but in some area, for example, apart from the source, Green Hill source that supplies Keon and St. Peter's, Keon also get groundwater from Atlas down by the Grange. So Newton Ground gets water from the well in Newton Ground. They also get water from Whitegate. They also get water from Sunny Point. Sunny Point has its own well, but it also gets water from Old Road.
That's right.
So some areas we are able to do that because the infrastructure is in, but some areas we can't do that.
And Keon is one such?
Keon is one such because Keon normally feeds, the Keon Reservoir normally feeds from Atlas Gate to as far as Canada.
Okay, we have one more call on the line. This might be our very last caller. Caller, welcome to the water line.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I am more or less calling to express an opinion and ask for a bit more intuitive response. Based on me listening to this show on a regular basis, it seems as though it's a repetition of what needs to be done. Nothing is being done. It's the same situation every year. We experience the same problem. Currently, we are in an area where water is, how must I put it? Water is flowing abundantly. There are rivers and streams that are running when the place is wet, and the water just withers away. It goes out to the sea. How is it that there is nothing in place to accommodate a situation like this? However, we are coming online and stating what we are going to be doing and what needs to be done, and nothing is happening. In reference to Mr. Herbert stating that they'll be drilling wells across the island, instead of drilling wells, which will affect the connectivity in terms of the plate tectonics and the divergence and convergence, the layout of the land, which would in some areas cause sinkholes or cause mudslides. It might seem mild now, but imagine having a surface and you're continuously pacing it. It weakens it. So instead of drilling, why not build more reservoirs? Don't drill. Build more catchments to catch the water. Locals, we have persons who have houses. The rain flows off the roof like nothing. Is there something in place for each territory or each community to have the flow of water running in a specific area to catch that? I'm sad at what I'm hearing now because I've been hearing the same thing since I've been 6. So is there any change that is going to be happening anytime soon? Or is it going to be a case of we're just hearing it again? Thank you.
Thank you, caller. We seem to have another caller on the line, so we'll hear from this caller. This will be our very last caller, and then Mr. Herbert will seek to respond to the questions. Caller, welcome to the water line.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
Yes, we got one little problem. not a little, it's a long time now. And I say water I got scarce. In Newton Gong down there by the Cranston, it got a leakage down there for nearly a whole 2 months now and nobody do nothing to it. Water just running. So please get somebody to look into it. Just below the building they build down there, Cranston Road there. The water is seeping up out the road all the time there. Just running, nobody fixing it. In Newton Gong, you call it Cranston.
Thank you, caller. Mr. Herbert will make a note of this.
No, make no note. Come check it because nobody can check it. It's there for a couple months now. And we complain in the street and nobody come and I lock off water fast. And water leak out down there. Nobody use it. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Mr. Herbert, the caller before this one had concerns in terms of what headway we are actually making in terms of addressing the water situation. Of course, she's saying that, each year we know the challenges that we can anticipate going into the dry season. What are we doing? I think she mentioned something about catchments as well.
Let me start from the building of the catchment. That seems to be one of the things that a lot of folks turn to or mention. If you don't have water, it doesn't make sense building catchment. You don't have nothing to put in the catchment. Okay. So before you go into building catchment, as I said earlier, we need, and when I say we, I'm talking collectively, the whole island, we need to do some conservation. Someone might say, oh, you're talking about conservation, report a bus pipe and it takes 3 days to fix. It takes a month to fix, as the gentleman just said. He's talking about Cranston. That leaks he's speaking about in Cranston, that showed up because of the problem that Newton Ground have. We had to divert water in that line to Newton Ground. So that's why that leak showed up. We are aware of that leaks. The fact of the matter, if I'm not mistaken, the guys should be there this morning or tomorrow morning, the latest, to repair that pipe. But we had to put it off because of using that line to redirect water from the well in Sunny Point to help Newton Ground. So that's why that leak is showing up. The caller before mentioned, as you were saying about building catchment, as I said, if we don't have no water, it doesn't make sense with building catchment because we don't have nothing to put in the catchment. Like anything else, drilling a well or getting a desalination plant online is not something that can be accomplished in a year or 2 years' time. There are a number of feasible studies that has to be done even before you start to do anything on the ground. And these takes time. Secondly, goes back to what the last show was about. Basically, the government getting money. We getting money. So, in order to do all of these things, we, water department, the government, the country, has to get money from the end users, the water users right now. So they have to pay the bills, keep up to date, and then allow us to have money to invest into a lot of these things. Because everything I'm speaking of here, the government is putting their hand in the pocket to get these done.
So it goes back to revenue collection.
Collection.
Okay. Revenue collection, that added with the bureaucracy of government.
Because not just one department.
Could delay
the government running a number of different departments and everybody have their hand, as I like to say, in the kitty because they want this to do for them too. With reference to the water running to the sea, one may look at the when we have heavy rain and say, oh, look all this water running down to the sea. You're not seeing the full picture. Because I will use a very simple example. If you have a 5-gallon bucket and you have a piece of sponge, let's say 6 inches by 6 inches, and you dip the sponge into the bucket when you take out the sponge, you're still going to have water. Because of the heavy rain, the soil cannot soak up all of that water one time. So some obviously will go into the sea, but some will percolate down into the ground, into the wells that we have. So it's not that we're not doing nothing. It's not that we're not doing nothing, but like I said, everything takes time, and we are, with what we have, doing the best we can and asking the general public to work along with us.
Work along with us by conserving.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. As we close, remember you can save yourself the hassle of finding parking and standing in long queues to pay your water bill. You can do so online on our website, www.water.gov.kn. We also remind you that for inquiries, you can contact us at 467-1005 or 467-1447, or you can reach us by email at water.services@gov.kn. I also wish to share with you a notice that we just recently issued. The St. Kitts Water Services Department wishes to advise all water consumers in St. Kitts that we are currently experiencing reduced rainfall, which means that we have less water to distribute. All consumers are therefore required to practice conservation measures so as to minimize the duration of water interruptions. Starting immediately, the Water Services Department will be visiting consumers who are using excessive water due to leaks to ensure that such leaks are repaired forthwith. Report any suspected leaks to the Water Services Department. And again, the numbers are 467-1005 or 467-1447. There should be no watering of grass or lawn using the public supply. There should be no washing of vehicles and buildings using the public supply. A schedule of water rationing will be instituted, and that will be shared with the public subsequently. Residents are therefore advised to have on-site storage to meet their needs during the interruption of the public supply where possible. We want to thank all our listeners for choosing to join us this morning on the Waterline. Thanks to those of you who called and engaged with us in meaningful discourse, whether it was to ask a question or make a suggestion or even file a complaint. We thank you for propelling us to continue our duty to not just be a service provider, but a quality service provider. Thank you again, and join us each and every second and fourth Wednesday of the month. As we sign off, we hope that you would be with us again for our next edition of the Waterline. Thank you.
Water is life, 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 life. Water is life, 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 life. Do just one thing, one thing.
Every job come, make sure you check for leaks around your house every day. Every job come, when washing your teeth, don't let the water